Let us not dawdle, for there are grudges to settle, and new entries in the Dammer's Cron to right!
Howdy, howdy, Sudevil here, and welcome to another game featuring the Dwarfs versus Empire being commanded by a wizard-lizard. We've had one of wizard-lizard's games on recently, which was an awesome game versus the Beastmen, and we have another game here to look at, which is a very fascinating game. So for a very specific reason, like the way I cast this, I'm going to be sticking to something because there's something really to see in this build, in this game, in the way that a wizard-lizard plays it. First of all, this Dowie build versus the Empire has 10 ranged units. That's right. It has 2 cannons and 2 organ guns back here. The cannons have a range of 440, I think, yeah, and the organ guns 300. Then he has 2 quarters, just basic quarters with shields, and 2 thunders. So he has 1 on each side, and then he has 2 iron drakes, which are really, really strong against low-level infantry because they just roast them really quickly, and they have that leadership debuff, and they're actually pretty strong against armored infantry like greatswords and stuff like that as well. And only has 2 dwarf warriors, 1 longbeard, and 1 miner with blasting charges. That's the infantry front line. This is a really fun build. I've seen a few of these. There's a few builds floating around out there of high, lots of ranged units for the Dowie, which are really interesting. Leading this build is Grombrindle, the White Dwarf, and Grombrindle has the Flash Bomb, obviously, for minus 76% charge speed, minus 76% speed, and minus 27 melee defense, which is really good for trapping something. And then he has the Rune Axe of Grombrindle, so plus 40% armor piercing damage, which is good because Grombrindle has what? 315 armor piercing damage to begin with, and that discourage, so minus 16 leadership. So he can use Grombrindle to trap something strong and rout it pretty quick. And then of course he has Grombrindle has no fear, which is unbreakable map wide for 32 seconds, and that's a bound ability, so you get that. And then lastly but not least, he does have a runesmith. So this runesmith does have the Rune of Wrath and Rune, which is pretty standard fare for the minus 48% speed and the damage, 4 uses of that. But really, here's the this is one of the things that I really love about the Runesmith, is that Hammer of Karak draws, so minus 25% weapon damage, minus 44 melee attack for 50 seconds. You take 1 unit and it's completely useless for 50 seconds. You know, and every now and then you get 2 uses of that. The hard part about this Hammer of Karak draws, which actually is really good, is it only charges when you're in melee. So sometimes you get 2 uses out of it, and sometimes you only get the 1. You got to be careful with your Runesmith. Now, for this Empire army, the opponent has 3 cannons. So 2 great cannons and 1 Hammer of the Witches back here. 2 Empire Knights, and they are... Oh, I thought he had 2 Empire Knights. No, just 1 Empire Knight, and that is an anti-infantry, but is not armor piercing, and he is an Amethyst Wizard, and that Amethyst Wizard has the Power Stone for improved power reserves and recharge rate. He has Spirit Leech, and he does have Life Leeching for improved power recharge. So he's going to try and Spirit Leech the Dowie Lords or the Dowie Artillery, one of the 2. For the main line, this is I've thought about doing this too. Like, I've tried some ideas with the Empire. He's got a Warrior Priest here, and that Warrior Priest just has... He's just on foot. You don't need to bring mounted lords versus the Dowie, really. And it's 22% damage resistance, the Scroll of Power for the recharge rate reduction, and this plus 26 melee attack. So that's really, you use this once, and then you hit the Scroll of Power and use it again right away. So your greatswords are going to have plus 26 melee attack for essentially 50 seconds. And then he has the Archlector, and the Archlector has the 22% damage resistance for 50 seconds and the 26 melee attack for 50 seconds. And really, he's got 3 units of swordsmen out front just to take shots and cannon fire and etc. And he's got 5 units of greatswords back here. So this, really, he's got sort of this blob here that's meant to come in and attack the Dowie. And way on the Vanguard, he does have the Sterling's Revenge, which are armor piercing. They have, I think they have Vanguard, and they don't have stock. No, they're just hiding. Oh, they do have stock. So he's going to try and get those. So basically, the idea of this Empire army is he wants his big mainline forces to come up together, find a place to engage, and in these two engagements, one here, wherever it is, he wants to win those really, really hard. Meanwhile, all the while using his cannons to shoot the Dowie ranged, and his Sterling's Revenge to try and get into that back line, and this probably the Spirit Leech and this unit of Cav to come around and get into the back line. So what Wizard.lizard does in this game is a really interesting strategy. So we'll just press play and get this thing started. Now when we start, you can see the enemy cannons only go up to there, and our short range go up to here, and our long range go all the way up to here. So we got the army's got to move to engage. So Wizard is kind of going up and engaging, and immediately the Empire player is getting these guys up. Really, he just wants to come up the side here, and he wants to come up the side here and set up, you know, sort of flanking positions on the Dowie army, which is, this is a really, really interesting game. And really, he's going to start shooting as soon as he gets into range, which is should be right now. So these guys should start shooting right now, unless he's got them off fire. Well, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't shoot at yeah, they're all shooting right now. So the Dowie units have to get sort of into position. You got the organ guns here, and he's really, you're going to see what he does. This is a really, really interesting way of thinking about the game now. So he's shooting at the Iron Drakes. That's a very good target for the cannons. I don't know if they're all shooting at them, but Wizard.lizard is kind of getting all of his cannons into range, and then he has his organ guns behind. So you're going to see what he's going to use those organ guns for, and it's not what you think. So I've never actually seen a game quite like this before. This is why I think it's really, really interesting. It's taken a while to develop, but you can see the plans. You know, these cannons are shooting in. I don't know why he's not bringing his swordsmen up. This is a big mistake, I think, but whatever. And really, he's coming around with these units. He's got the Amethyst Wizard here, you can see, and this Sterling's Revenge is still ready to come around. And this Amethyst Wizard, I believe, is going to try and catch that organ gun out. And he's going to get the Runesmith out. He's going to try and catch that organ gun and get the Spirit Leech. I don't know why he's got to get so close. But, boom. There come in the shots. There come in the shots. So these organ guns are just defending that back line. And back stays the Runesmith. And you can see, here comes the shot. So here he's got the Spirit Leech on this cannon. We're going to see sort of what it does to the cannon. It's just bringing it down. And look at, the cannons are shooting. I just want to show you. The cannons are shooting the cannons are shooting this way at the Hammer of Witches. The organ guns are defending the back line by shooting into this guy, and he's got his Runesmith back here. So this cannon's taking a little bit of damage, and this cannon has had that Spirit Leech, but it looks like it's gone. Did it kill a cannon? Nope. This hill's got all three cannons. So now it looks like these three are counter battery. Are shooting against the Dowie. The Dowie have got the Hammer of the Witches, and that battle's going. And you can see now there's sort of a giant gap between the Dowie backline and the Dowie front line. Normally, you don't want this. You want to be able to defend yourself. But what a Wizard.lizard's doing here is he's using his artillery to defend his artillery. So you can see he's just shooting at that Amethyst Wizard. This guy probably brought his Amethyst Wizard, said, what do I have to be afraid of back here? There's no Slayers, there's no anything. I'm just going to come back here. I can outrun this Runesmith. He is on a horse, is he not? Yep. But the organ guns are just taking him to town. And now in come these guys. So he's got this Runesmith back here with the Rune of Wrath and Rune. And now organ guns going to shoot at this Empire Knight. So I'm going to let's just play out a bit. This stuff, this side, this whole thing I'm not all that worried about. This will resolve how it is. This is an interesting idea. He's defending his back line with organ guns and a Runesmith. So this Runesmith is back here. He's the Rune of Wrath and Rune. Now these guys are going to start coming in really close, but look at how much damage they're taking. This is unbelievable. Bang, they rout. They didn't even get a charge. Now these Sterling's Revenge are going to get in here. So what's he going to do? Changes the target to the Sterling's Revenge. This cannon's gone. This one's still counter battering. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. I'm not terribly concerned about it. Maybe I'll just go because of some of this, because I do love, you know, looking at how awesome that is when these things come in. Like, you can see that all these great swords are just going to get absolutely roasted. don't know why that makes me so happy. It just does. But this stuff, I mean, you guys seen in a million Dowie battles, or like, you know what's going on here. Here's what I've never seen before. Bang! These guys these Empire Knights are routing, and now he's turned around and he's shooting at the Stern's Revenge. You see, he's got both of those shooting at the Stern's Revenge. The Amethyst Wizard has been routed off. These guys. I'm just gonna press play here. They just rally over here. These guys are both shooting over here at the Stern's Revenge. He's bringing his Runesmith. His Runesmith still has a Hammer of Carrick Draws handy, by the way. He has not used it yet, so he still has that handy. Hopefully this cannon will rally, but he's still got this cannon shooting over here, and the Stern's Revenge are now getting mowed down. So these guys have rallied, but he hasn't brought them back. Okay, now he's bringing them back. So he's going to bring them back in. Sterling's Revenge, now they've routed. So, bang, he switched these back over to this guy. And he's got one more shot going into there. These cannons have rallied. This cannon is still shooting over here at the Hammer of the Witches. And the Runesmith is over here. So in comes shots again with the organ gun. Boom, into the Empire Knights. Now, the Empire Knights are going to do some damage. These organ guns are shooting. The Runesmith is pushing these guys off this side. This cannon's going to get back on the cannon, and this other cannon's still shooting. And you can see it's just, go ahead. He's just like organ guns are defending. He has Grombrindle has no fear now, so essentially everyone's unbreakable up front. He's using this to keep everyone going. These, unfortunately, Stern's Revenge have rallied. Now he's got to focus back on the Empire Knights, and so there's a sort of a little, well, not a little. There's a major battle going back here. But this cannon's been online the whole time. This cannon is now back online. The organ guns are shooting the Empire Knights. In comes the Runesmith to try and shoot the Empire Knight. Now the Sterling's Revenge are coming back. Okay, now we're going to shoot back at the Sterling. Now these guys are going to be gone, going back at the Sterling's Revenge, and this cannon's still shooting. This one's going to be online pretty soon and starting shooting on whatever it wants to shoot at. Time to go get the Sterling's Revenge, and I guess he's shooting these guys in the ass until they are shattered, and he's probably up here doing some micro, just looking at what he's doing. The Sterling's Revenge are coming in. They're going to get this cannon. Unfortunately, he's gonna see that, and I'm sure he's going to change. Yeah, there he goes. He's changed to the Sterling's Revenge, and he's going to get some shots onto there, and he's going to finish those guys off. He's got the Rune of Wrath and Rune. He doesn't worry about the Runesmith. Now, at this point, these Sterling's Revenge are going to be gone. These guys are shattered. These Sterling's Revenge are going to be gone. They're going to shatter. Now he can actually just finish them off and take the last half of his ammo and start bringing them up front. Now, this battle has gone pretty good for the Dowie. I would say in that for having no infantry, they've done all right back here. But I mean, they haven't been able to stop everything. He's got Thunders. He's got Quarters. But he's managed to get the Hammer of the Witches, but these great cannons are still going. I would say, though, you can see the Empire is sort of pushed out from that line, and he's got his cannons kind of focused back here, and you can see these swordsmen are being chased off by the Longbeards here, and they're sort of being focused on the cannons. Now, though, it's time to bring in the heavy hitters to sort of finish off the game. The Runesmith is coming in. This cannon is shooting at these greatswords over here, along with the organ gun. So I'd say like the Dowie unit couldn't hold up against this pressure. But now, usually in the late game is when your cannons and your artillery is actually all offline. So this is completely reversed. Now it's in the late game. The Dowie artillery is just starting to come online, and you can see they're just going to do a number. This other organ gun coming in here shattered this great swords, shooting at these shattered these great swords. Going to shoot at these guys. They are pulling off Grombrindle. He's got these great swords now. He's just trying to kite them out with the Thunders and kick the crap out of them with the cannon and the organ guns. And the other organ guns are just trying to find good targets to shatter them. And this is very, very hugely spread out, so nothing can really get to the cannons super easily. And to any of the Dowie units. Now, there are some Dowie infantry left. These Longbeards are still doing all right. But you can see everything over here like none of his buffs can actually hit a bunch of stuff. He's got this 22% damage resistance, which really isn't going to matter much because nothing's targeting him. But he's trying to do something with his abilities, and you can see these cannons are shooting. He doesn't have anything coming after these cannons quite yet, but he will be able to get there. He's just trying to clean off everything that's sort of here. Now he's routed the great swords. Now I guarantee you he's going to get these thunders. Though they're going to shoot the great swords, but then they're going to go after this archlector. I don't know. Yeah, these guys are shooting the great swords over here. We got this warrior priest going up against the runesmith. Now the warrior priest is beating up the runesmith, but you can see really the last big thing the Empire has left now is just this archlector, and Wizard Lizard is effectively being able to push almost everything else off the field, including all the great swords, all the real things that are a real danger to the Dao. These dwarf warriors are now going to just be able to loop right in, and be able to loop right in along with the miners with blasting charges who are somehow still left, and the quarrelers are going to be able to loop right in and take out these artillery, and the runesmith is going to keep fighting here. I mean, he's got the battle prayer, hammer, sigmar. I mean, that guy's going to beat the runesmith, but the archlector is now just going to get free shot from these 35 thunders. This cannon is trying to back up, and the organ gun is just trying to finish off the great swords. And you can see, like, it's just a really, really interesting way to think about a battle. I've never seen a fight like this before. I mean, and the way it plays out. You know, now he's just going to pound that archlector, and you can see in he comes with these units to try and get after the two cannons. Like, these two cannons will not be able to hold up to the miners and the quarrelers very well. I mean, yeah, everything's going off here. Great swords. He's got these dwarf warriors going after these swordsmen. Really, just now he's just trying to get this stuff going. He's bringing these dwarf warriors up, and then trying to collapse back on this archlector. Yeah, you can see here he goes, getting these guys in, and the Empire player is trying to pull these cannons off, which I don't know, I guess just to get them fighting, I suppose. But you can see this warrior priest is lost to the runesmith, and he's being chased off. This cannon is now is still online. These guys, he's trying to kite them around with this cannon. The archlector is over here. He's trying to bring his units all back in, so now he can shoot that archlector and get everything going on this side. These guys, the cannon crew will probably be able to beat the quarrelers and the miners. I don't know why he's running away, but he is. But really, he just wants to chase this warrior priest, make sure he goes. And is he going to bring in Grombrindle? Yeah, he's just going hard here. Maybe he's going to pop his rune axe at Grombrindle. Nope, and that's it. That's the end of the game. So a good type of style of play that is definitely purposeful, right? I mean, I've seen some pretty wide builds, but I've never seen a big stretch like that with that many artillery before, where the artillery protects itself. Now, maybe if Wizard Lizard had seen his army had like 4 Empire Knights, maybe he keeps his whole army back and tries to play in sort of the classic dwarf way. But it's interesting that he saw there was really nothing there to harass the back line. Obviously, he didn't see the Sterling's Revenge because they were hidden, but there was very little that could harass that back line, so he just let his back line go. And look at the numbers: 74 with the cannon, 10 with this cannon that they focused down, 107 and 191 with the organ guns. Fantastic. 45 with Grombrindle, 14 with the runesmith, 21 with the miners with blasting charges, 2 dwarf warriors, 81 and 22, 35 with the longbeards, 56 and 40 with the quarrelers, 16 and 69. This guys would have been the ones who were focused. 58 and 20, 57 and 28 with the thunder. So an interesting way to play the game, because when you look at if you're gonna want to play, this is a good solid idea by the Empire player for sure. Bring the archlector and warrior priest to buff up the great swords, and bring the swordsman just to get in the way, to take some of those first initial shots for the swordsman, the great swords, and let those great swords go to work. That's the mistake I think the Empire player made at the beginning, was not pushing right away with his great swords, because there was no reason not to. Like, he really, I mean, had he taken that engagement 150 meters or 200 meters forward, he would have been able to push into the Dao cannons a little bit faster. It might have been a little closer. It was a close game as it was. But really, really interesting style of play. And that last game of Wizard Lizard was a masterpiece in micro. And this was a really an unbelievable way of thinking about how to defend your back line. Because usually I think about artillery is that you need to protect it. Well, if you have artillery protecting artillery, well, maybe it's not that bad. And it's a sort of a fascinating idea, and it's something that you can put into your playlist. Now, I definitely want to put into my playlist because I have a build with the versus the Skaven, which relies on artillery. Now, can artillery protect artillery in that build? Maybe. You know, it's possible. It's an anti-Jezzail build, but you know, I've just never saw a game played like this before. So it's always fun when you see something new, and it's really interesting when you see it function, how it was planned. And with that said, I mean, I'd love to hear from you guys. Have you played like that before, or really used your artillery to protect your artillery? Because all he had back there beyond his artillery was one runesmith, and that's it. And it's not like a whole bunch of stuff was back there, but that's why a Wizard felt okay to push his whole front line forward, because there wasn't a whole lot there. I mean, an Amethyst Wizard, a group of Empire Knights, and obviously Sterling's Revenge, which he didn't see. So really, he only saw two things back there, and then just the Great Cannons for the counter battery. So love this game. Absolutely love this game. And would love to hear from you down in the comments below. I always ask for comments because that is my favorite part of this, whether you're stopping in to say, you know, you play like this, or you like this idea, or you'd like to see that, or you're just saying hi. I mean, I love the comments, so hopefully I can hear from you down below in this game, this really wonderful game from a Wizard Lizard. And with that said, I hope you found it interesting, and I will see you soon.